I think it should come as no surprise that the idea of having physical media is not a bad thing. All of the time that we have these boxes that stack up or libraries of movies that we have, and they're taking up a lot of space, even if we may never see them, having them for historical context and being able to see them at any time that you wish is probably for the better. Especially considering all the stuff that's happening now with movies and how a lot of the stuff that's coming out of Hollywood is, and even out of the TV shows that we've been seeing, has not been that exciting. It's probably why I haven't done as many reviews as I've been wanting to do on this channel, but I am going to react to this news a little bit because it's one of those things where I'm just looking at it and trying to be a little bit objective about it, but maybe I might really kind of give my honest opinion on here, because this is going to show you that Disney, number one, is hurting for money. It's no surprise. Like, Disney is just doing a lot of things that have been turning off a lot of people. Long-standing Disney fans are just like, I've had enough. I'm not going to go see a movie that's made by Disney. I'm just not going to go to the parks. I'm not going to spend money on them. And yet there are people who are going, and I've heard a lot of people say that they're waiting in a lot of long lines or whatever, or they do get to enjoy it, or however, at least the classic Disney stuff. But modern Disney hates you if you like classic Disney. But that's a whole nother discussion. But here, right now, the argument is for physical media. So Disney is striking a deal for Sony to take over its DVD Blu-ray disc business. Well, why? Because Disney's hurting for money. They're outsourcing a big piece of its home entertainment division to Sony Pictures Entertainment, which will manufacture, distribute, and market the House of Mouse's DVDs and Blu-rays and other physical media. As part of the deal, Sony will market, sell, and distribute all new Disney new releases and catalog titles on physical media to consumers through retailers and distributors in the US and Canada. Disney will continue to manage its own digital media like premium video on demand. So Hulu, Disney Plus, you'll still be able to see any Disney related stuff, including 20th Century Fox, through those services. But if you want the physical media, it'll be Sony who does so. Now, it's unclear if this will result in more layoffs at Disney. However, the studio is expected to conduct an internal assessment across all business functions that support physical media amid the transition, according to Sony, according to sources familiar with the agreement. So people are going to lose their jobs. The market is already, you already have hearing it from Hasbro is laying people off. A lot of it having to do with the fact that a lot of the figures that they've been selling, and that's a toy argument there. But on top of that, Disney has been, having a lot of flops happen lately with their movies. And so they're trying to figure out any way that they can continue to make money with the products that they have. According to Disney, the licensing model allows the studio to continue to offer films and TV shows through physical retailers and to respond to consumer demand more efficiently. Yeah, because more people want the physical media. And they also came to the realization that, oh, hey, we also bought 20th Century Fox. We also bought this company and that company and this company, and we have to distribute all their films. Yeah, let Sony do it. We don't have the money for it, because they don't, right? So whatever the reasoning, physical disc sales have been long in decline, and they show no signs of rebounding amid the industry's streaming boom. Now, I want to push back on that. Mind you, as a result, Best Buy discontinued the sales of DVDs and Blu-ray discs in the store, and Netflix's decision to shutter their DVD mail-by service. Walmart, Amazon, and Redbox are among the select major retailers to sell copies of the big movies. Now, that is a big deal for people who, and I didn't want to get into the stock prices because, again, I can get into the craziness that's going on with Disney, but really this is more about physical media. The thing about physical media is that if you have the movie, you can watch it at any time. I talked about this a little bit in my last video on this channel, that, hey, physical media is how you will be able to ensure that you can watch a movie whenever you want to. Especially considering when things like this happen. So, Mary Poppins, a clear kids movie, right, is now considered 60 years later to be offensive. It wasn't offensive then, but it's offensive now because of a term called that they use called Hottentots. It's not discriminatory unless you really know how discriminatory it is because of the soot-faced chimney sweeps. You know, there's a lot of terminology that was used back then that in context really was kind of a clean way of like saying you look like something, right? And it wasn't really considered offensive back then, and it wasn't really like, used in that way. A lot of people have used different terminology back then differently than they use now. It's just now we know the context, and so now we consider it offensive. But in context back then, it wasn't. There's also a scene that was more of a humorous joke in Toy Story 2 that was removed from the streaming services. Now, here's the thing. If you've now learned that the term is offensive and now you're offended, fine, whatever. You can be offended. But the movie, stands out in its own merits for what it was at the time that it was. And there was terminology used in the 80s. There was terminology used in the 90s that people used on a regular basis that was on regular TV, and it was perfectly fine for all audiences, general audiences, and is only now considered offensive. So this is why I come back to this and say physical media is king. Because the movies don't have to have rating changes. They don't have to have reevaluations. They don't have to have things censored out of it. Now, you can talk about censorship to a degree where it makes sense. A TV broadcast. And maybe you might want to look at these streaming services as the TV broadcast versions of films, as long as we still have access to the physical copy. And this is why I firmly believe that the original version of Star Wars should always be available for people who want it, to have it, like physically, to be able to watch whenever they want to. Now comes the question about the people who say, well, I don't have enough space for DVDs. I don't have enough space for Blu-rays. Okay. Copy the disc to your hard drive and put it on a secondary drive and watch it whenever. Because the streaming services will edit these films. They'll cut things out. They'll put, trigger warnings on the beginning of a movie. They'll take parts out. They'll change stuff. They'll delete stuff. And they'll very much become the TV version of the film. But if you never have access to the physical copy, the original way the movie was released as it was intended by the directors and by how it was perfectly fine at the time, then you're pretty much at the behest of what the movie studio and current present day Hollywood and the people who live in the area of Hollywood all feel about this. So my argument is this: you should be able to have access to any of these old films whenever you want to through a physical copy, and be able to watch whenever you want to. And the streaming services, here's the difference between a streaming service, and I honestly think there should be, if you buy a movie, let's say, or a video game, or whatever, and the physical copy, the only time that it really makes sense that having the streaming service or having it digitally is when you can no longer play it on a proprietary equipment. So older video games, you're at the behest of the fact that the older video game is only on a console that may not work on your modern TV. So you have to find a way around that. And so emulation becomes a thing. And so having the physical copy is like, you're kind of stuck in a catch-22. With VHS, they don't make VHS tapes anymore, and you have to find a VCR. But they still have DVDs and Blu-rays. Now, Blu-ray players can play DVDs. So if you have the old movie, you may not have it in 4K, but you have the older DVD copy of a TV show or a movie that you want to watch, and you just pop it in, and as long as it plays, it'll play, as long as the disc is still in good condition. But a lot of people, what they'll do now is like, hey, something, I'll just sell off the DVD set or the DVD movie or the Blu-ray movie, and I'll get the digital copy. Now, if you have a streaming service like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney Plus or Hulu, these movies are subject to whatever they put on there. So here's a great example. Something that you guys are always asking me about is to talk about Thundercats. Right? So you guys want me to talk Thundercats 2011. I have to make mention of it in every video on this channel, until I eventually do a review on the two Thundercats TV show. The second episode of the original Thundercats was broadcast. It had music and everything, but the DVD release, the first DVD release of the TV show, the original 85 cartoon, did not have the music in episode 2. For whatever reason, episode 2 just doesn't have music, and it's weird. So Hulu and, Movies Anywhere has Thundercats on their streaming service that if you bought the DVD, you can get the physical copy. Well, guess what physical copy they have? The version of episode 2 that doesn't have the music. Now, I have a DVD set of Thundercats that has episode 2 with the proper music. So that goes to show you that having the physical copy really makes a lot of sense, and the streaming service doesn't have the issue. And the other thing that I talked about before, them reevaluating old movies, where you can't go back and, watch an old movie without getting offended somehow. Not realizing the context at the time that it came out was perfectly fine, whatever. And so now what these movie studios will do is they'll put it on a streaming service with scenes removed, scenes altered, alternate scenes spliced in, and mind you, you had the Star Wars special editions, but I firmly believe the original Star Wars should be as it was, the first 3 films as they were originally released, unaltered, so that you can see the changes made, and then you can watch the special edition whenever you want. So if you have both versions, you can contrast and compare. But if you don't have that option, then you're kind of stuck at the whims. The other thing is, I personally believe that if you're going to go crazy and try to alter these movies, then Disney Plus needs to be a made-for-TV version streaming service. That, hey, what we deem is okay and not okay in a movie or a TV show will be altered, but we will still, we'll still have the distribution of a home video release that will have the original versions unchanged. Then what you'll see is a spike in home sales. But here's the other thing. It's not just Disney. Hollywood, you need to make better movies. Straight up, you need to make better movies. Stop with this, we have to hit a checkbox of certain types of people have to be in a film in order for the film to be considered okay to be put out. No, let's stop that. Let's make a good movie, tell a good story. You don't need to make changes unless it's necessary for the story to be told, and just tell a good have a good story in a movie, and maybe people will go and see it. They want to be entertained. They don't need to see certain checkboxes being hit in order for the movie to be good. Then we'll be more inclined to take our families to go see your movie in the movie theater, and you'll actually make money. The other thing is this bloating of a film to be $300 million to make, when films like Godzilla Minus One come out, and it's like less than $15 million is used to make that movie, and that movie was better than almost everything that came out in Hollywood in 2023. So What does that to show you? That if you make a good movie, and now I'm hearing a lot of good things about this Dune movie. I have not seen the first Dune film, so I'm eager to see the Dune films, because now I'm hearing a lot of good things, especially of people who are fans of the novels. So now I'm going to go I'll check out the Dune movies. But that's really a matter of whether or not these movies that are coming out are any good. And if they're not good, then I don't want to see them. And even if they come out on streaming services, I'm not going to watch them. And if the TV shows coming out on the streaming services are not any good, I don't want to have to pay for streaming services that are not any good. If I want to go buy a movie, the movie better be good. Like, I bought the Mario movie physically. Why? Because my kids love Mario. But we rarely pop the disc in, but we have the disc just in case the streaming service goes down. We can always pop the disc in whenever we want to. And now if they decide to change a movie like they do nowadays, can always go back in and pop the movie in and never have to worry about these studios doing things. And that being said, I want to know what you guys think about physical media. Do you think that physical media should be, be put out a lot more? Does Hollywood need to make better films so we go see it in the theater? And how much time should it be before a movie comes out at the movie theater until it comes out on home video? Of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to check out my other videos as well. I have more coming down the pipeline for this channel, so stay tuned for that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.